Welcome to episode 57 of Broad Street Hustle. I'm your host, Tommy Nanny, bringing you a fun show. This week, we previewed it a little bit last week, but there has been some changes since. So the Sixers have been eliminated, which I don't believe the Heat series wrapped up. I'm sorry. So we know the NBA Finals, but also the Sixers hired a coach. So we will be talking about that. We're going to talk about the NBA Finals, which starts tonight in Denver. And then, as promised, we have the first third of the MLB season has finished up, or the post Memorial Day kind of gives you a snapshot of where you are, where your team is, where your bets may be. But before we get into the nitty gritty of that, we're going to do a 4 round, 16 team draft where the four of us are going to pick basically teams to win the World Series. And the winner, I should say, is going to get dinner bought by the other three who lose, if that makes sense. So it should be fun. We already randomized the order, which we'll preview it. We'll talk about before it. But let's jump into it. Got my normal guys with me tonight. Jason Sayeda.
What's up, Tom?
Jason, how are you? I got Jimmy the Chalk.
Good evening.
Good evening. Live from the hangar of Dover Air Base. I got Chris Meeker.
What's going on, everyone?
What is going on? All right, let's jump into it. I'll start with probably the happiest guy on the platform here tonight is Jason. Nick Nurse is the Sixers 26th NBA coach, I think I heard today. Not sure if that's accurate, but what's your thoughts?
I'm thrilled. I mean, I think it's the best coach they've had since Larry Brown, and Larry Brown was the best coach they've had since Billy Cunningham. I'm thrilled. I mean, this is the guy I wanted. Kind of had an idea as it started getting into last week and stuff, and I started to hear things about, he dropped out of the Milwaukee running for that job and things like that, and the connection he had with Morey. I was starting to get excited, and they hired him. So, my whole thing is one of the biggest things is he obviously won a championship, but he knows how to shut down Embiid, and I think that could only help Embiid grow. I mean, if you read, there's a couple of clips out there, excerpts from a book that he wrote, basically stating what their philosophy was on Embiid, which was basically in the beginning of the game, frustrate him. Send the whole team at him when he gets the ball, and then get him off his game, and then basically once he's off his game, he stays off his game. So, I think he could only help him. Again, I mean, I don't know what else to say, but I'm thrilled. I'm looking forward to the next steps. It looks like a couple of his old players are interested in coming and joining him, which I think will be interesting. So, yeah, it's great.
All right, and Jimmy the Chalk, somebody who has season tickets, but probably sees less live games than I do. What's your thoughts?
Well, I will keep those tickets this year since Dawn Staley did not become the coach or even get an interview, as far as we know. We talked about it. I said, for me, Williams was probably 1A and Nurse was 1B, so, good hire. I don't find it particularly exciting, but I don't know if there's anybody out there this year that would have been an exciting hire. It's going to come down to what kind of team is he going to have in front of him. Is he the best to get more out of Harden? If Harden stays, maybe not, but there's not going to be guaranteed that Harden stays, although he said, Nurse said all the right things today about wanting to keep Harden and whatnot. Embiid has apparently bought into it, so that's good from that perspective. So, like Jason said, he's a proven winner, and really, I think his best coaching job wasn't the year he won, because yes, he had Kawhi Leonard, and he did some. I don't know that he so much outcoached Brett Brown as minimized the damage that Embiid did, which you could consider outcoaching, but Embiid was still effective as a presence on the court, but was slowed down enough to get them over the hump. But the next year, when he lost Leonard and I think one of his other really good players, and they finished with the second best record in the East and almost went to the conference finals, with a over-the-hill Kyle Lowry and a Fred VanVleet that was just starting to get good. Like, that was probably his best coaching job. So I'm hopeful that maybe he can get a little more out of some of these guys that don't see the court as much. Maybe he can unlock something from Jaden Springer. I don't know, but they're going to need some of these other guys to contribute because they're not going to get 3 or 4 new faces in here that are going to be impact players. So, not a bad hire. Just not exciting for me, but they certainly could have done a lot worse.
And Meeker, thoughts?
Well, I mean, I kind of agree with Chalky isn't like the most exciting thing in the world. I mean, I saw clips of his press conference, and he kind of said all the right things, what you would expect him to say. One of the things he was talking about was whether his previous experience with Kawhi Leonard would help with, how he has to treat Embiid. And I think he said all the right things there. And you're right. I mean, he's a winner. He's a good coach. I mean, it's like these carousel of these 5 guys. We knew they were probably going to get one of the 5. He
Can
probably
I ask
is.
what would be exciting to you?
Yeah,
Like,
I was
I don't know. I mean, I just
to come in and start doing flips on the sidelines.
Yeah,
during
you
live
need like
pitching?
somebody from Area 51 to.
Yeah, like what would be an exciting hire? Can I ask that question?
Well, when we asked the question in previous podcasts, I knew it was way far fetched, but I just said Jay Wright because I threw that out there.
It's never happening.
Well, it was never happening, but it would be exciting. This isn't really, I mean, absolutely exciting. I mean, it's exciting to you because you like him as a coach, but it's not exciting to me because it's we're just kind of recirculating the same 5 guys.
Was Monty Williams exciting?
No,
So on Jay Wright.
no. I mean, it's just a name that would excite not only me but the city because it's Jay Wright. So that would make it exciting. Wouldn't the city be
Not
more
knowing
exciting
at all
to see
if he
him?
could coach in the NBA
Well,
at all.
We don't know, but is he a good coach? Can he coach
In
basketball?
college, he's a great college coach.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't coach in the pros.
Well, it doesn't
Doesn't
necessarily
mean
mean you can.
Fine. It's
All right.
just that it's just not an exciting hire to me. But I mean, look, I mean, I'm gonna root for the guy. I'm not gonna hope that he fails because it's not exciting. So we'll see.
Chalky, same question for you. Well, you said also not. Guess you started with the not exciting part.
No, there was. I mean, of the candidates that we talked about, there was nobody that was an exciting hire. Yeah, sure, Jay Wright would have been an exciting hire. There's a difference between exciting and realistic. If they would have hired Rick Pitino, it wouldn't have been smart, but it would have been exciting. Like, you had 3 or 4 former championship coaches, recent championship coaches, on the market this year, and they were all kind of like, meh, so. Nurse is a good coach. There are other guys that are good coaches, but it doesn't get me fired up for the season. But there are very few coaches that would have, and there wasn't anybody that you're reasonably going to get. That's on the market. I mean, like if they traded for Steve Kerr, yeah, I guess I could be excited about that to see what they could do. But there's very few coaches that are going to get you excited at this point when you're a team that's going to hoping to get over the hump. If they stunk and you got some kind of hot new up-and-coming coach, then that might be exciting. But for this team, there's not a lot of options out there like that.
Let me ask you a question. When the Sixers hired Doc, was it exciting? He won a championship.
I mean, it was an exciting name.
Yeah.
Well, I figured the same thing. It's kind of very similar, in my opinion.
I'm less excited than when they hired Doc, but I think after obviously having watched Doc, there's a higher upside now than from when they brought Doc in. But
I mean, I think part of why Doc you were excited is you were stepping away from Brett Brown as well.
Yeah,
that's
part of it for sure.
It was kind of like the end of the process and the start of the new, where we've arrived kind of deal. We're like they're ready to take the next step now.
Yeah.
That kind of played into. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can.
I think he's got a tough job ahead of him. I really do. I think he's got a real tough job ahead of him.
Yeah, I don't know how you can't love it though. I mean, of course, we have no idea. We don't know if he can unlock more out of Embiid. We don't even know if Harden's going to be on the team or not on the team. So obviously, roster plays a part in it. But I mean, for me, you got a guy who's like actually going to coach X's and O's at times. You're not going to just let the players go out there. And run like without, well, I shouldn't even say run without chicken heads, dribble very slowly until 8 seconds are left in the shot clock without a head, and then run a play. You're going to see more, I would assume, if history tells us anything, you're going to see more ball movement. You're going to see like a constant motion offense. I know there was him referencing where he likes to play the big man kind of in a triangle type offense at times. So I just think you're going to see more basketball and less like have
Rah
Harden
rah,
dribble it slow, pass it
rah
to
rah as a coach.
Embiid.
If
No,
more
not
Doc was
rah
a
rah.
rah
I
rah
think it,
coach,
well, yeah, yeah.
than he was an X's and O's
And
coach,
again, I
right?
said it on one of the podcasts before. You see why Doc has struggled in series with leads when there's adversity. When Missoula made the change to Williams and played big man, Doc did nothing as far as X's and O's to improve that. He did the same. He passed it to Embiid. Embiid slowly dribbled the ball, and then he got doubled, and he lost. It's like I think Nurse is going to
Yeah.
have plays. He's going to run
See,
X's and O's.
but I think Nurse's creativity is going to be more on the defensive side, or historically has been more on the defensive side than on the offensive side. Now, it doesn't mean he can't be better than Doc when it comes to X's and O's, but what Jason talked about, how they attacked Embiid early in the game on defense, kind of got him thrown off. Remember back when they won the championship, yes, Golden State had a couple guys got hurt, but they switched to a box and one zone, which is like never used in the NBA, and it confused him and threw him off a little bit. Offensively, I don't know that he's going to be a great X's and O guy, but he could certainly be more creative than Doc.
Yeah,
It
well,
didn't
I
seem like
mean,
they had a lot of creativity.
let's be honest. He's never had, besides the year he had Leonard. And outside of that, he really didn't have guys around him. He's never had a talent like Embiid. His best player was Van Fleet and Siakam for, the last 3 years. So he had to play a defensive style, creativity of a defensive style.
I would be excited. I would be excited if what Jason said is like if there's some guys that want to come play here because they respect him.
Van
Vliet
yeah,
being one of
wants
them.
to come. He's already like sending stuff on Twitter, and I think that's going to be your replacement for Harden. However they're going to get him, I think that's your new point guard next year for Van
Yeah,
Vliet.
what was he alluding to when he said, I think the guys will love him, or they like him now, but until training camp starts or something. Do we know the backstory as far? Does he run like a vigorous training camp, or is he like a? I know he's a major in philosophy. Is he doing like yoga and going on deep retreats or something? Or
that I don't know.
Yeah, I just thought that was a curious comment that Van.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily a negative comment. I just thought it was a little curious.
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, I think that's going to be, we never even broached that subject about, what a possibility would be if Harden leaves. I think that's
well, that's
your
when
your point guard is going to be.
When you stepped away, that was my point. Is you really, how much could you really evaluate when you don't know the roster as well?
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just think Van Fleet's tough to swing this year because he's got a player option. He could opt out just like Harden, but if he just goes to free agency.
It's a sign and trade.
It don't have to be a sign and trade.
Yeah, but the question is, who are you sending that they're going to actually do it for? Unless he says, I'm only going to go to Philly.
Yeah, he's opting out. So it's going to be Tucker. It's going to be somebody. You're going to get a mid-level exception when Harden leaves, and then Tucker makes what, $11 million or something. I think that's your trade for Van Vliet right there.
I don't know the. I think it's possible. I think that they can structure something to make it happen. Some of it will play into, like you said, where he wants to go. If he, players have a lot of say in trades these days.
This would be Harden's not going to just opt in for the 1 year, so you got to make that Harden decision this year if it's up for. You can't say, we'll wait for next year. You either say we're waiting next year for Van Fleet or you sign Harden, and then that kind of goes out the window.
And the Harden situation is dependent on if the Rockets are going to give him that deal, because if not, they have to do a sign and trade kind of for Harden to get rid of Harden, right? Because there's no team that can afford a max contract, the contract he wants, I should say. So it's, I guess, what is it, July 1st? Is that free agency? I think so.
Yep, month from today.
So, more to come as far as roster construction. And now, Nurse will have a say in it, I think. And it was nice to hear that Embiid signed off on Nurse. It was brought to him at the very least. I just think it's very positive. There's nobody that, you mentioned Monty Williams. Why were you, and I'm sure you did mention on a pod before, but what was the reason for Monty over Nurse? As far as...
Because he's got familiarity with Embiid. They got along well, and I thought he obviously he got some good players over there, but in 2 years he went from a team that was in the lottery with the number one pick to in the NBA Finals. And yeah, they added Chris Paul, but he had a part in the development of Booker and Bridges and Ayton when they got to the finals. And he's well liked. So is Nurse. I mean, look, he wasn't like head and shoulders above Nurse, like I said, and he wouldn't have been an exciting hire to me. But I think either of them would be good hires, and Nurse is a very good hire. So I can't complain about it. With the options they had.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the Nick Nurse personalized logo hat or whatever he wears.
He didn't have glasses on today. I never saw him.
Yeah, I saw that.
Really.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
I mean, look, I think he'll be well liked in the city. He looks like he just stepped right out of the front door of St. Gabe's Parish up in Grays Ferry. So I think he'll be well liked for that at least.
Yeah, I think it'll be more to come, but initial action is pretty positive. All right, let's move into the NBA Finals, which starts tonight. We could go and talk about that Boston-Miami series, but everybody saw what happened there. Tatum getting hurt early in the game probably played a big factor. Who knows what would have happened or not, but here we are, Denver and Miami. We'll just do some basic thoughts and maybe a prediction. I mean, I don't think we're going to dive too deep into it. I'll go first because, I'll just go first. I think Denver's going to take the series. I do think the fact that Denver will have 4 home games versus the Heat rather than the 3 they would have had potentially against Boston plays a little bit of a factor in it being, with the Mile High, all that stuff. I can't see Miami winning any games in Denver. But I can see Denver taking a game in Miami, so I'm gonna go with Denver in 5. Jason?
Yeah, I think it's a sweep. I can't see Miami winning any games. I think Denver's got the number 1 rated offense against zone defense. They have all this rest. I mean, they're definitely going to win tonight. Then you got the altitude factor, and Miami's not that good, and I think Butler was slowing down. I think he's probably tired. I think he was slowing down at the end of last series. That's why he didn't play well and somehow was given the MVP award, which cost me a lot of money. But anyway, but no, I think it's a sweep. I think Denver's in 4. I know the favorite in Vegas is Denver in 5, but I think
okay.
Yeah, that's the least. It's plus. I don't know if it's plus. I forget, but it's the favorite. But I think the sweep is second favorite, or maybe 6 is second favorite. But anyway, sweep.
Yeah, and also just to add, like you saw in the from like the Boston Sixers to Boston Heat, how like just because one guy is on fire in one series doesn't necessarily mean it can. Like guys like Martin and Vincent who were like lights. I mean, Martin was lights out. Now maybe he's just a good player. But he was like lights out, like just for like Brogdon. I know there's injuries. I mean, Brogdon couldn't miss against the Sixers, and he was horrific against the Heat. So, for Denver, it wasn't like guys were hot, and that's why they won. Denver had quality players that played quality basketball. So, I mean, I think that's a big factor. How about you, Chalky?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to bring up, but Jason mentioned it, how Martin was robbed of the MVP. It's not to rub salt in the wound, but the guy who said he was going to vote for him didn't vote for him in the end. He lost by 1 vote. So
I mean, I don't want to get sued or shut down, but I swear to God, Reggie Miller has a brain, like some sort of brain injury. Or
I don't know.
He's a total idiot.
I think he needs glasses. He just doesn't put I don't understand how he's not. Some things he says just doesn't apply to the game that's being. I see on TV.
He
so
was like Butler scores the last 3 buckets. I was like, no, he didn't. I was like, that just didn't happen.
And he voted for Butler.
Yeah,
and then but I mean, it's just like I don't know. He's really
but it's the ESPN guy you want to get mad at because I think he's the one that changed his vote. Bontemps was going to vote Martin. That would have been the difference anyway. Yeah. Unlike Tommy, I don't like to play the chalk, so I'm taking Denver in 6, which is the longest shot for the Denver side, plus 400.
Your name's Chalky, and you literally play.
I've seen 400 guys nicknamed Tiny before, so it doesn't always apply. But Jason's actually 4-0 is the second longest, or third longest. Okay. Yeah, so 4-1 is plus 230.
Wow! Let's be third longest because
4-3 is plus 310.
But the top 4 longest ones are the Heat winning the series.
I'm talking about realistic outcomes because we know Denver's winning. But plus 380 for a 4-0 sweep, and then 4-2 Denver is 400. So yeah, but I mean, look, Denver was a team, and when we did the preseason, I picked them as a team that could get to the finals, obviously. And I mean, they've been. How can they not be impressive with the way they played?
Listen back to that show.
It's on there. It's on the record. So
I did have Denver in the finals also, but I had Milwaukee with them. So
yeah. Well, so Denver Milwaukee would have been a 80-1 payout for me on that exacta.
Milwaukee didn't come close though.
They did not. No.
Right.
Fell short there.
Where would Detroit and Sacramento been?
Anyway, so
right, exactly.
But Denver's been uber impressive. I mean, it's hard to argue with what they've done. You can say, oh well, they beat the 8th seed, the 4th seed, and the 7th seed, but the Miami's not a traditional 8th seed anyway. I mean, they finished 7th technically, but they're not. It's funny because they're built different than just about most teams because they have all the non-drafted players that are on the roster, and they would only be the second team to not have a lottery pick starting to win the championship since the lottery started. Toronto in 2019 was the first team that didn't have a lottery pick starting, and Miami right now, at least as they played the last 2 lineups, doesn't have a lottery pick starting in the lineup.
I mean, Miami also didn't have the toughest road either. The Bucks series was changed when Giannis got hurt. Like he was not the player.
Yeah,
then
the
Knicks were a joke.
Overrated.
Now they legitimately beat Boston, but we all had issues with Boston.
I mean, hey, look, when we talked about the beginning of the playoffs, beautiful. I said that I had hoped that the Heat had won that first game against Chicago because they would have come in at 7, and I thought they would have gave Boston a tough series in the first round before the Sixers got them. So I wouldn't have picked them to beat Boston, but I thought they would play them tough. And hey, look, I mean, they did it. But Butler's doing a great job, but it ends here.
Meeker.
Yeah, I don't think any differently from you guys. I had Denver in 5. I was thinking about a sweep, but I'll give them 1 game. And I think the only path that Miami really has of winning this series, which I don't think is going to happen at all, but is if Butler just stands on his head and scores 40 points like 3 of these games. They get Hero back in game 3, possibly. Maybe he gives them a little bit of a spark, and maybe they steal 1 game somewhere along the line, but Jokic, this year of Jokic, it kind of reminds me of Dirk in 11. Like, it was like his time to win a championship. It seems that, Jokic has done pretty much everything he could do in the NBA beside win a championship, and now he's gonna get his this year. So that's just kind of destiny for me. I think Spoelstra have, Miami playing hard. They can keep some games close, but in the end, I just think too much talent on the Denver side. I mean, Murray is like the best Robin to a Batman I think you can have in the NBA right now. So, it's just, they're not going to run into a team like Boston that just gets 3 happy and just throws up threes like crazy. This is a completely different type of offense and talent they're going to play in Denver. And I just can't see how they can make it work. It's a good story. Credit to Spoelstra for getting them this far, but I think it all ends here, and it could end quick. The one thing I do want to talk about in terms of like a prop bet, obviously there's not really value in just betting Denver to win in 5, but one thing you could do is you can take, if you really think it's 5, you can bet Miami to win like maybe one of the first 2 games and then Denver to win the rest, and that's got pretty good odds. So you can get, I think, 2,200 or something on that.
So
if you have it right, you have to have it right though.
You could pick
the sequence.
each game. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you can bet like if Miami wins game 1, Denver wins all 4, or Denver wins
the
one.
tough
Miami
is you got to figure out the game that they win.
Yeah.
Which
so
is...
you continuously hedge it along the way if you want. If Denver continues to win,
you would think it would be the 3-0 game, right? It makes logical sense. Like Denver's up 3-0, and that's when they, But I'm sure that's the favorite in that sequence in 5. I would assume.
I mean, I tend to. I don't know if there's different odds for what you just said, but I mean, I tend to think that if Miami's going to win a game, they might win one early, like maybe game 2. I don't think they're going to win tonight, but that's what I bet. For the series, because there's just no value in picking Denver pretty much anywhere. So that I'm just trying to make it work with something like that. Just a couple other prop bets if you guys want to talk about playoff prop bets.
I would love to hear your playoff prop bets.
Well, do you have any?
I do not, but I would love to hear your playoff prop bets.
Let's see. I have my notes.
You can open up the book, Tom.
There was
I
no,
see
I
your,
no,
I see
I
your
bet
eyes.
them. I bet them, but I don't think I wrote them down. So, one of the
We-
things.
we
One of the
need them
things
for
that
the
I
next
do
show.
remember, one of the things I do remember is there is a bet for tonight's game where combined assists between Murray and Jokic is 20 or more, and I think that had pretty good odds. I think it was like 440, 450. Jokic, he averages what 10, 11 assists a game. So we just need
Yeah,
9
but
or
what's
10 for
Mary? I
Murray.
would
Murray
assume
doesn't
Mary
not
does
as
it.
much,
Yeah, that
but 20 is not a lot. Doesn't seem like a lot. So I like that one.
Start betting unders on things and props because that's where you win.
I bet under Jimmy Butler's 27.5 points per game for the series. I think
Under.
that's an easy under.
yeah, that's a lot.
That's how you win because everybody wants to bet over on props.
All right, let's end this segment. Move into the first third of baseball being over. But let's start, like I said, with our quick draft. We're gonna run through. So we off camera, similar to the NHL and the NBA. We did not show the lottery, but trust us, it was legit. And I happened to win the first pick. I know, sounds doesn't sound legit. I got one. Meeker is number 2. Chalky is 3, and then Jason is 4. It's a snake style draft. I'm sure there's a lot of fantasy players out there. You know how that works. 1 goes first, and then 4 goes last, and then comes right back in the second round. So we got 4 rounds, 16 picks. Major League Baseball. I'm going to take an American League team only because I feel like it, and I'm going to finally give Tampa Bay over the hump.
All right, so Meeker's next.
I'm going to take the team I think is the best team in baseball, and that's the Atlanta Braves.
Okay.
I am going to take the Astros.
All right, you're going to make me take the Dodgers, but I really don't want to, but I'll take the Dodgers. And then I
Okay.
will also take. This is a tough one. Oh, man. I'm going to take the Texas Rangers.
All right.
So, Chalky.
I was expecting the Yankees to be there, but I don't really have the Yankees. Let's St. Louis.
It's horrific.
Did you say you were
pick.
expecting the Yankees to be there? Well, they are there, no?
I said I'm not expecting them to be there.
Okay,
Meeker.
well, I'm going to
But-
take the Yankees.
Yeah, that was the other team I was going. I we'll get into it, but I like
Yeah,
the
I would
Yankees,
take the Yankees there. All right, so give me. I'll go with San Diego, and I'll come back around and I'll take the Minnesota Twins.
I'm going to go Toronto.
Chalky.
Seattle.
So these are my last 2 picks. I am going to take the team I love this year, and we'll get into it soon. Arizona.
Hmm.
And I will also take. Oh, jeez, this is a tough one. Oh boy, they're not going to win. I'm going to take the Baltimore Orioles.
Well, my strategy of grabbing Arizona in the last round blew up in my face.
I wanted them all along.
Might as well just throw everything in the toilet and go with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Of course.
I guess.
Meeker.
Since you took the Phillies, I'll take the Mets.
Yeah, that was the team I was going to take.
And last, I was also going to take the Mets. Give me the Angels.
All right.
So everybody read their picks off. So I have the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, San Diego Padres, Minnesota Twins, and Los Angeles Angels.
Yep. And then Meeker.
Atlanta, Yankees, Blue Jays, Mets.
I think I like Meeker's teams the best.
Wow, he had Chalky picking wild card teams in front of him. That's why.
We're not picking odds here, are we? We're just picking teams.
Yankees are a wild card team. St. Louis is going to win their division.
No, I don't mean wild cards as in. I mean wild cards
yeah.
as in like mentally challenged teams.
Okay.
Like the St. Louis Cardinals in the second round.
Anyway, your winning order is Astros, Cardinals, Mariners, Phillies.
And I have Dodgers, Rangers, Arizona, and Baltimore.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about the first third of the MLB season. We'll probably focus mostly on the Philadelphia team, maybe National League. We'll talk about some awards. So let's talk about the Phillies. And I'll kick it off with just 2 words. They stink. Jason, what's your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know where to start. You know, I don't want to hog up every reason that they're terrible, but I'll give you 4 quick reasons. Number one, like Trey Turner is. You guys are too young to remember Lance Parrish. Me and Meeker lived through Lance Parrish. This guy has been Lance Parrish so far. Now, I will say, and I think this is a major problem that they should have thought about, but he's one of these slow starters. If you look at his stats in April and May, he basically hits 260 in those months. And he's going to turn it on now, just like the rest of these bums, like Real Muto and Schwarber. They're my second and third problems. Schwarber's second, close to first. I'll read some stats on this guy. He was the worst statistical offensive and defensive player somehow in the major leagues in May. In both categories. He was the worst player.
He batted 115 in May.
Yep.
He was the worst player. His heat zone on balls right down the middle, like straight as an arrow down the middle, he's hitting 281 somehow on balls right down the middle. He hasn't had a single in 19 games. He hasn't hit a single in a month. Okay? And then Real Muto has been awful, and he's another slow starter. If you remember last year, I was complaining about him, and he turned it on, just like Schwarber turned it on in June, and Turner, I'm sure, is going to turn it on. But last is Nola, and I think Nola is a bigger problem. I don't know if he's turning it on. I don't know what his issue is. I don't know if he pitched too many innings last year, and he's burnt. I don't know if he's got his contract on his mind, but he's a big problem, and if he doesn't straighten himself out, they have no chance.
Yeah, I'm not surprised with Nola because I did come. I mean, I think we all talked about. We said the pitch clock could affect him the most out of all the players because of the trouble when he gets in trouble. He can't. He doesn't have the ability to dig deep, and now he has less time. And so I don't know. I would agree. I don't know if Nola gets it back.
I don't know,
but I would blame. You could just blame everybody, but their offense is so bad. I mean, even against the Mets, they gave up 2 runs, 4 runs, and 4 runs. Okay, that's not that much where you get swept. Like one of those games, you have to score more than 4 runs in a game, and it's the reason you said Turner. I mean, men in scoring position. But the other problem is all these guys are struggling, and the coach does absolutely nothing to change it.
It frustrates me, but honestly, what is he going to do? Like, where is he going to put all these guys? Who is
okay?
hitting?
So here's the problem: you move Schwarber from the 1 spot. You can't put him back there now because he's batting 160. So that's over with. So you did that move. Now you have Stott there, who's going down quickly.
He's been slowing down.
He's like 280, and I think he walks less than than me walking outside. I mean, he never walks for a leadoff hitter. So now you have a guy that shouldn't be leading off that's probably stuck there because what are you going to do? Because at least Schwarber still his on base percentage is above 300. Maybe he would have hit out of his slump if he's leading off already. Who knows? But you can't do it now because, like we said, that move has already been made. So You got to do something. You got to move Schwarber down to 8. Move, I don't know, move Clemens up. He's hitting the ball at least. Maybe he deserves a chance. Boom, another one. And I know he's got the hamstring, but he started off with 3 home runs in the first 2 games or whatever. And how many home runs does he have on the season? He has no power. Cassiano hit 1 home run in the month of May. Like, okay, fine, he's hitting doubles, and he's been their most consistent player, so I'm not complaining about him. But he has 1 home run in the month of May.
Yeah.
Like, it can't happen. Chalky?
Well, you stole my line about Castellanos being the most consistent hitter so far, and who would have thought that, even though I think we all thought he'd play better. But, I mean, the team as a whole has just been inconsistent. They were hitting okay to start the year, and both their starting pitching and their bullpen was acting up, and then their starting pitching got better and their bullpen still wasn't straight. Now their bullpen's been pitching really well, and their starters are not, and you look, Suarez started late. Harper's just getting going. I can't really complain much about Harper, since he came back. But, your guys that were playing better or above where they had before early in the season, like Stott, Bohm, and Marsh, are all now coming back to earth or coming back to normal. So you wasted their hot starts on, you're 5-6 games under 500 right now. And, a lot of the stuff we just talked about, I mean, last year we had this conversation. It was like 2 things. It was like the guys, how do they improve? The players just have to play better, and they can fire the manager. Well, they fired the manager, and the players started to play better. What is it this year? Because a lot of the things we were just criticizing are some of the same things Girardi did last year with the lineup. And Thompson probably handles the pitching staff a little better than maybe Girardi did, but he's not really doing a whole lot different than this team looked last year, and he's only a couple games better, even though he had some more injuries than Girardi had to start last year. So, I mean, it's like New Year, same song and dance. Like we had this discussion last year, I feel like.
Yeah, but and you actually, I think you said on a podcast, like today's game, he takes Marsh out against a lefty.
That was terrible.
That was terrible. For a guy that I don't even know who he was.
And
now, would it make a difference?
Showalter immediately brought a righty in, so now you got the righty against
of course, he's
quadruple A player instead of Marsh against the left.
Right. Yeah. What did you think was going to happen? And why? Marsh has still not even been that bad against left-handers to where he needs to be taken out against lefties. It's just like, what is happening here?
That was terrible.
Meeker?
The biggest thing for me is that everyone in the lineup is constantly behind in the count. Constantly. And it is so hard to hit behind in the count in the major leagues. If you are 1-2, 0-2, I mean, you're defensive on every swing.
Oh, but aren't they like one of the top, or not like good at, but swing like one of the more higher rate at first pitch than in the National League? I think Atlanta was like 1 or something, but I think
first
they're up
pitch.
There, aren't they?
But maybe they are swinging the first pitches that are not are out of the strike zone,
right?
You know what I mean? And not taking.
Yeah.
Well, Harper kind of skews that
swings.
because he always swings at the first pitch.
And he always he misses it all the
misses
time.
every
misses
time.
a lot.
It's so funny. It really is.
But listen, in the month of May, they were between 22nd and 30th in baseball in every offensive category: batting average, on-base percentage, batting average, runners in scoring position, scoring runs, home runs, etc., etc., etc. I mean, it's crazy. Originally when we were talking about the team, we were talking about the pitching, and then the pitching hasn't really come around, in my opinion. They're still bad, but the lineup was at least, they were like in the top 3 or something in batting average in the National League. And in the month of May, it just started with the Dodgers getting crushed 3 straight games, and throughout the month and losing to good teams, and basically it's just snowballed into where we're talking about them. Basically, what are we going to do at this point, right? That's what we're talking about now. And yeah, Turner has been a monumental disappointment thus far. I still feel like before the end of the season, we will see the real player that we thought that we were getting. But, when's that going to happen?
We also said that about Castellanos all year, and he never became that player.
But my biggest is Schwarber. I mean, if we were in 90, this guy wouldn't even be in the lineup with that batting average. He wouldn't even be playing. But because, he has the potential to hit a home run, we obviously are going to keep him in the lineup, and we have no other option for left field.
Let me ask you this, Meeker. What happened to, like we all said, what happened to him being able to hit now because there's no shift?
Like, he doesn't make contact.
Wasn't he? Yeah, exactly. Wasn't he supposed to be one of the guys that was going to benefit from not having a shift?
He overswings and gets underneath everything. I haven't seen it. He pops up, flies out constantly because he's trying to hit a home run every time.
Yeah,
He
but
doesn't
that's not
take
gonna-
advantage.
but
Doesn't
that's
take
not gonna-
advantage of what you're talking about.
But that's not.
He doesn't
gonna
take advantage
change.
of what you're talking about.
He's never.
Well, I
gonna
mean,
hit
it
the
should
average.
change. If you're hitting 180, you have to
And
change something.
He can't. That's his swing.
Well-
I mean, it's not going to change.
Well,
He just has to start
it's a
connect-
liability.
Yeah, but to
there's-
Jason's point, he's missing fastballs as well. So he's just off right now.
Jason knows this too. There are guys in this league that were Kyle Schwarber-like. That came in the league, hit 40 bombs, whatever, hit 220,
Deere.
210. Rob Deere is a good example.
Dave
who
Kingman.
ended up really not having much of a career in baseball.
But you're naming
if he
guys
doesn't change it.
that played in the 80s.
But that's the example I'm talking about.
But that ain't the league anymore. You got to play to what the league is.
It
You're not
doesn't
gonna
matter.
get-
It still translates to today's game because
It
of the
doesn't.
type of player he is. Jason, do you not agree with that? He can be one of those guys where you can be
No.
out of the league in a couple
First
years
of all, he's
because
in
he's a
his
liability
30s.
on offense.
Here's the thing
He's
that
in
drives
his
me
30s.
crazy
So
what?
about Schwarber is I've heard a scout say if Kyle Schwarber wanted to, he would lead the league in hitting. Now
I've heard that
hit
before too.
40 home
Which is
runs,
insane.
but he's that good of a hitter. So
Yeah, but this team is showing you when you don't hit home runs, you don't score a lot of runs. Right? I mean, they're not doing anything, but they also have no power. And even when
they have
no power.
Yeah, but you don't need to be swinging like that when there's no one on base and you're down 3 runs. You need to be getting on base.
They don't play any small ball. Like they don't
Yeah.
like even Stott for that matter. Like I love Stubbs because he bunts. I love guys that just get on base because you know what that does? It makes the pitcher pitch out of the
See, Stott's problem is he can make contact
Stretch.
on any pitch, but he swings
Yep.
it every pitch out of the zone. He'll
Well,
foul it off.
He does.
But he doesn't-
He's trying
he's
to stay
hitting, though.
alive. Yeah.
Trey Turner's hitting under 200 with 2 strikes against him this year. At least Stott is hitting around 260. I heard the stat the other
He
day
leads the
with
league in hits
2
with
strikes.
2 strikes. He leads the league in hits with 2
So
strikes.
I'm fine with that. If that's
Yeah,
what
but
if
he's
that's
still
if
batting
you can do that.
288, which is on base percentage, like not that much higher than Schwarber's, I don't think. And he's
Well,
batting
he doesn't
280.
walk.
Well,
He-
I mean
he
that
doesn't walk.
factors in.
I
You
get
can't
that.
just have
Yeah,
one.
these
where-
guys got to get.
I mean,
They just got to get on base. It changes.
he's your
the
leadoff
pitchers.
hitter, so he should be on base more than anybody.
Especially this year, it changes the pitcher. The pitchers now can only throw over there twice. So now if you got that in the back of your mind,
Yeah,
you got
where
guys with
Turner.
some-
I mean, I guess he's not
Yeah.
on base, but what Turner don't steal. He don't
8
get on-
stolen
is it-
bases is a disappointment.
is
for
it 'cause
Turner
Harper's
in 2
behind him?
months. I mean,
That's because he's not on base enough
Yeah,
to
he's
steal
gotta-
bases.
he's got the worst. He's got like one of the worst on base percentages of like the 160 guys that are eligible. I think he's 150 something or some advanced stats. I mean, now there's not one player that can fix all this, but how much do they miss Hoskins?
Hoskins, I think they miss him.
Is it more than we thought they might? I mean,
I said
he
that
would
to
have been
you the other
hitting
day.
240
I just
with
think-
12 home runs, but I mean, I don't know. Is that something's missing?
Hoskins was in the lineup last year when they were struggling like this in April, May. And I just think, I don't know. I mean, my whole thing was, and this looks like it's red boarding, but I wanted them to trade Hoskins for a number 3 starter. I wanted them to sign Brandon Bell. They would have been in a lot better shape right now if they did that. Now, you can't anticipate Hoskins getting hurt, but one of the things I'm going to get into if Tommy asks how they get better is they need a number 3 starter on this team because
Absolutely.
they don't have one.
Well, they
don't
do
have
have.
one.
They do have a number 3 starter. His name is Aaron Nola. They don't have a number 2.
Right.
Well,
or maybe not a
but
number
right.
1.
So where do you put Suarez? You're saying Suarez is not a number
He's-
3?
Here's my thing: like you go into it, you go into a series in the playoffs, right? And you go to a game 7. Are you comfortable with Ranger Suarez as your pitcher? Because that's your number 3 pitcher pitches in game 7 usually. I'm not. I don't think he's a number 3. I don't think he's a number 3 starter. Is he a 4? Okay. Walker's not a 4. Walker's a 5 at best. I think Nola is a 2. He's just not pitching well. I think you needed a solid number 3 starter. And one of the guys
I think Suarez is. I mean, we'll see. Barring the injury, like he's. I think he's in number 3.
Aaron Nola has a real fine line of being really good or getting crushed, and it has everything to do with the location of his fastball.
They
If he
take the lead, and then his shutdown inning is never. He always lets up a run. He
He's
walks
just
the
not-
first
he's
guy
been
on 4
terrible this
pitches
year.
after they score a run, and then that was all she wrote.
And he's always back and forth with his seasons. Like he's got good season, bad season, good season, bad season. He's very seesaw, and he's given up way more home runs at this point in the season than he did last year because he's not a dominant pitcher. Like he doesn't throw the ball 98 miles an
Yeah,
hour by you.
it's location and movement. I mean,
Yeah, and if it's not working,
well,
it gets hit, and it gets
he's
hit out of the
the
park a
number
lot
one home run thrower, right? I think I saw.
this year.
Yeah, this year. That's right.
Yeah.
I got a guy I'd like to see them try to get, and it's a guy whose contract's up. He's gonna, same as Nola. I mean, listen, if they continue to stink and they fall out of it, I think they're going to trade Nola.
I was going to say that he's definitely going to be up for grabs.
I think they're
if
gonna trade him.
Now the thing is, the league is so mediocre with the extra playoff spot. Like everybody's within 2 games of a playoff spot right now, so
Yeah.
it's going to be hard. But I think he's definitely on the market if they think they're out of contention.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to pull that trigger when they're a game out of the third wild
Yeah,
card.
Dombrowski's
doesn't-
he's the go for it type of guy
Yeah.
too. So, but
So here's the guy I want. I like to see him try to get Marcus Stroman, because he's pitching out of his mind right now, and the Cubs stink. The Cubs aren't doing anything, and they're trying to rebuild. They got some young guys and all, and the Phillies have prospects. So I would like to see them, because what else are they going to do? Like what else are they going to trade for in this lineup? You're not. Maybe a first baseman.
maybe first baseman.
And Clemens,
you
I mean,
gotta-
Clemens
you
been
gotta
one of
get
their
a
best players. I mean,
gotta get-
I'm
but,
not blaming that
I
guy.
mean, did they give
What?
up on the idea of playing Harper at first at all? I haven't heard
No,
anything
it
about
They
that.
seems
said
in
not
forever.
before the
Yeah.
All-Star break or
Not before
something.
the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Like I said before, that gives you a chance maybe add an outfielder if you think you can play him there
but
regularly.
here's
But
the difference is if you add a player and that player plays well. If Schwarber, Turner, Real Muto, they all continue
it's
to play
not
how
gonna
they're
make a
playing, it's not
difference.
going to make a difference. Like the guys that are on your team now have to
They
be
just
better.
They
in
just
order
have to play better. They
Right.
just have to play better.
Right, you have to play better
mean,
in order for this team to be
it's exactly what we said last year, and it's the same answer. Like you've got all this talent, so-called talent team. If they don't play better, there's not any one player or even 2 players you can bring in that makes them
Yeah.
a World Series contender. They just have to play better.
I'd be more confident. I'd be more confident in the lineup coming around than the bottom of the rotation coming around. So if I'm going to make a trade, it would be more for a pitcher than I would for a bat. And I mean, your name is not bad. I mean, if that's a guy that they can get because he's coming up on his contract. But I'm not doing that unless they have a shot. And having a shot of being 2 or 3 tiers down on the last wild card is probably not enough to trade for Marcus Stroman.
They were last
Yeah, but-
year though,
but
and
here's
they
the
made
thing.
it to the World Series.
There's no guarantee
Yeah.
that they're signing Nola. So now, if you have Stroman, now you sign Stroman, and now you have Painter
I
coming
would.
next year.
I don't think they're going to sign Nola.
I don't think so either. I think he's gone.
I mean, it sounds like they're
He's
pretty
gone.
far apart now. Maybe his worth or his value comes down. They're still willing to pay something, but if he doesn't have a bang up year this year, maybe he doesn't have the market. You think? But I was surprised they were even that deep in negotiations, because I was kind of in my mind it was like, this is probably it, and they ought to start looking for somebody else that
Yeah,
can fill that slot. But
You don't know what's true and not true when it comes to that stuff as well. So
no, but
yeah, no. Yeah, I got news for you too. I mean, the bullpen's also been, not to their fault, but they're overpitched at this point. So
Yeah,
come
they're-
later in the season,
The
I mean,
rotation's a huge problem.
so
Killing the bullpen.
Strom's already an inning or 2 away from what he threw last year.
Nah.
I mean, which is insane. So like, what are you going to get from those guys now? Alvarado being taken, hurt and getting rest maybe is a good thing because he was on pace for an outrageous amount of innings pitched. So you don't know what the bullpen's going to be towards the end of the season as well.
I mean, how many position player innings have they had to use this year? It feels like more than like most years combined, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to some just overall. I don't know how you guys want to do it. I don't know if you just want to go through some picks, some bets, like divisions. If you want to do it overall of baseball, I don't know how much people really care about that.
I mean, I had a couple of value teams I was going to talk about, and they're
Yeah,
teams I
all right.
drafted.
Yep. So that leads into kind of what I was saying, where we'll just kind of run through some of the bets, I guess you would say, and predictions.
We could look
more
at the
so than-
divisions and see if there's a value on a team that's, I have the odds for every team basically. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
have
All right,
teams-
let's do some team stuff first. So you seem anxious, so go ahead and you said you had some value teams, I guess. You could get
Yeah,
them
I
all
mean,
and
my first-
discuss around it.
Yeah, my first team is Arizona. I mean, they're right now they're tied for the lead of in wins in baseball, and I think they're a legitimate team. Their rotation reminds me of the Phillies last year, where I think Zach Gallen is the best pitcher in the National League. I think the guy is a phenomenal pitcher. So you get into a wild card series with them, and you're going against Zach Gallen. And I think Merrill Kelly is a legitimate
Kelly.
number
Yep.
2 starter. So it's the same thing last year. Nobody wanted to play the Phillies because they had to face Wheeler and Nola, and they went in and beat St. Louis. So I think Arizona is tremendous value. They have a good young lineup. They got tons of prospects if they want to make a trade and add a third starter or whatever they want. So right now they're plus 750 to win the National League West, and they were like, I don't know, I want to say 20 something to 1 to win the NL. I mean, I bet all that stuff. They're my number 1 team of value. Texas, I think there's tons of value in Texas. They haven't even gotten anything from DeGrom yet. DeGrom's coming back. I mean, now could he stay healthy? I don't know, but they're leading the division, the AL West. They're still plus 190 to win the division. I think there's tons of value on Texas. Their lineup's great. They got some good young players. And then 2 more quick ones. Baltimore is another one. I mean, that team, it's a young team. They have prospects. If they want to make a trade and add a pitcher, they need a pitcher. But they also have a couple decent young pitchers. So their value, they're like 55 to 1 to win the World Series, which I doubt they'll win the World Series. But, hey, they could win the American League. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, the problem with a team like that is they've historically not spent the money they needed to get over the hump. So that's where it's like, is their team good enough as constructed to win opposed to what they could be? Not saying they won't do it. It's just historically they have not.
Yeah. And then the last team is the Yankees. I mean, they've got nothing from Rodon yet, and they've got nothing from Severino yet. I think they're very live, the Yankees, and they're going to add somebody else.
Yeah, the Yankees I agree on for sure.
I think they're live. I kind of wish I would have drafted them, but it was them or Texas. I like Texas a lot. So, yeah, I mean, those are my teams.
Anything from you guys? Chalky, did you have along the same lines as far as sleepers?
Value. Team's not currently the favorite right now. I think Guardians are plus 340. I'm not convinced the Twins are going to run away with the division, so I thought they were interesting at that price. As my draft may have given a clue, Cardinals at plus 240. Milwaukee, I think, Cardinals are finally... I don't think the manager's that good, and he could certainly mismanage the team, but they're getting on a roll, and, I think they could, just like they did last year, come and win the division. And then the team I tried to steal late but failed was Arizona. I mean, plus 750 on a team that's got a lot of young talent and is now tied, as of today, for the division lead. Are they likely to win the division? No, I'm not going to say that, but you're plus 750, and they're neck and neck with the Dodgers right now, so I think that's great value. So those would be my 3 teams.
Meeker?
Yeah, I actually agreed with Jason on Texas and Arizona. Both those teams, I think, have great value to win either the AL or NL or go to the World Series, so I'm with you on that. The rest, I mean, I was just going to talk about a couple of things, like some of the picks we had in the beginning of the season, and other than the Phillies, thinking the Phillies are going to be good, there's big concerns. San Diego, I think that's a big concern there. I'm not really sure if they're going to even make the playoffs.
They're similar to the Phillies. They're in the same boat.
Yeah, very similar. They're in 220 as a team the other day on the year. Toronto, I think they're a good team, but they're just in the wrong league. I mean, the other day they were in last place, but they would have been in first place in the Central, and I think there's just too many teams in the AL that are just better than Toronto this year. They're just not playing up to their potential. I think they have some concerns. And then the surprises were Arizona, Texas. I think is a little bit of a surprise. Baltimore is playing way better than I thought they would, and and they're young and they're hungry. So we'll see, if that's a team that makes a move at the deadline to see if they can take the next step. and we all faded the Dodgers, and the Dodgers continue
Yeah.
to just win. And it's just
Yep.
crazy how they just continue to win and continuously bring up pitcher after pitcher after pitcher, just like the Braves do. Whenever someone gets hurt, next guy in line just comes up, he's a stud. So, we should have probably thought twice about fading the Dodgers.
Yep.
My value picks for players, if you want to kind of just run into that.
Not yet.
Yeah, why don't
Alright.
we go around like if Tommy? I'm sure you have to talk about teams that like we
So
should
I- well,
all
I
give our
just-
quick division winners. Maybe
I just had a question. So who of the team or teams that are overachieving right now or number one in the division do you see, either not making the playoffs or, kind of just not for real, basically. Jason, is there anybody that stood out to you?
I think the AL Central is ridiculously wide open. I mean, the only team that can't win that division really is the Royals. I mean, the Royals are terrible, but I mean, Minnesota's no great shakes, and Detroit, I mean, they're not great, but Cleveland probably has the best value to win the division, but they're only plus 340. I mean, I don't know who wins that division. I mean, I'm not doing minus 245 on the Minnesota Twins. That's for sure. So I think that division's wide open. Going into the year, I did pick Milwaukee to win the NL Central. I don't know if the
They got some
Cardinals can
problems.
catch them.
Yeah.
They have problems.
Milwaukee's got
but
some injury problems.
That division stinks too. I mean, I don't know. That division.
That could be what you're saying though. Could be the reason why St. Louis ends up winning the division because
It
the
could.
division's really not that
Could.
good.
But all the other divisions, I see the leaders. I mean, Houston, Texas. I mean, Houston or Texas. That could switch, but all the other division leaders, Atlanta, Dodgers, Tampa Bay, I think they're all going to win the division.
How about you guys? Anybody who's like kind of overachieving that you think is going to fall flat on their face, or?
Yeah, well, two of my value plays were Central Division teams in both leagues, so I guess I'm kind of along the same lines of Jason. I don't buy Minnesota as a stone cold lock at minus 240, and
Yeah.
I certainly I would take the Cardinals over the Brewers right now, for sure in my mind. So those two, I think definitely.
I think Tampa, getting out to that hot start they had, I could see them not winning the division. I still think they're a playoff baseball team, but I don't know if they'll hold on to that division. I think the Yankees might end up winning that division in the end.
Yeah, how about like Pittsburgh? They're the third wild card team. Is that just because we're due first?
That's about that Cinderella story is ending really fast.
What
too.
do you guys think for wild card teams for both leagues? What are your three picks?
For both leagues? So I think the Yankees are going to win the East, so I'm going to say Tampa Bay, Baltimore, and Texas because I think Houston wins the West. So that's my picks in the AL and the NL. That's a good one. I mean, I think after you get through your first division winners, Arizona I think's got a good shot at if they don't win the division, making the playoffs as a wild card. The Mets, they're playing better baseball, and I'm hoping that the Phillies are that other team, but it doesn't really look that way. If I had to pick another team, oh man, I guess whoever doesn't win the Central, either Milwaukee or the Cardinals, because I don't think San Diego is going to make any noise either. Honestly, we all thought they were.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind it's 2 months into the season too, so
Yeah.
we've seen drastic turnarounds of teams every year.
I actually
That would
think
be the
there's-
one team that could turn around though, San Diego.
I actually think there's value on Miami. I mean, that pitching staff is really good. Now their lineup's not good, but you know what happens with pitching. I mean, they have. I mean, Alcantara, if he turns it around, they got Perez, they got Luzardo, they got Rogers, who's been hurt. They got decent pitching, so they're always scary. And their odds are unbelievable to get in the playoffs. So.
Yeah, I was Arizona, Mets, and San Diego, so nothing in the NL. That's crazy. Yankees, Texas, Toronto, and the AL. So
Yeah, I have Baltimore, Texas, and the Yankees as my wild cards in the AL.
I'm Yankees, Mariners, and who was the other team? Whoops, I guess I shouldn't say that, right? I don't know. Yankees, Mariners, and don't even know who my other team
So you
was.
have Tampa winning the
Texas?
division then?
Tampa wins the division.
Texas,
Let's say
Houston.
Baltimore. Let's say Baltimore gets in there.
That's convincing.
And I had 3, and I'm like, well, I can't remember who my third team was, and none of them look familiar. I think I had a small stroke. But I had the same NL teams as Tommy.
All right, now Jason's favorite category, he probably has about 65 different bets in right now, but
I do.
the MVPs of leagues, you see anything that stands out to you? I mean,
Yeah,
right now Otani and Acuna, I
Acuna.
think, are the favorites. So
Well, I had Acuna from the beginning, so I'm really happy that he's. I think if he stays healthy, he's winning the MVP. I'll give you one medium shot, and I'll give you a long shot. Although the long shot got hurt today, so he's probably going to be out. But Goldschmidt is 20-1. This is when he turned it on last year. And if Chalky's right, if the Cardinals come on, maybe he grabs it. But again, this Acuna's got to get hurt, and he gets hurt a lot, so you never know. But if Acuna doesn't get hurt, he's winning it. And then, along the lines of my Miami pick, Arias. I mean, that guy is Arias, however you say his name. He's probably the best pure hitter I've seen since Tony Gwynn. So, 75-1. I doubt it. And plus, he got hurt today. But I think Acuna's going to win.
how about you guys?
The only name I'll throw out for MVP in the National League, and again, it's Acuna's to lose, but I'll throw out Austin Riley at good value at 45-1. He has always plays well in the second half, so if he puts up big numbers in the second half, I think that'll be a good spot bet.
Yeah, for me, I had Goldschmidt 20-1 and Olsen at 35-1. Now his batting average is garbage, but if he brings up to even 250, he could lead the league in home runs and RBIs, and Atlanta's going to have the best or second best record in the NL. So I think at 35-1, he's there's some value there. And I actually think there's a little value on Judge at 4-1 in the AL. He's getting on a roll. If he puts 50 home runs in there again, he might get it by default. I think Otani might end up getting more of the Cy Young, but I think he's a better price than Judge is a better price than Otani right now.
I don't think you could not give him the MVP if he wins the Cy Young.
Yeah.
Well, he's been MVP, right? But he's never won Cy Young, I think, right?
And
So
he's an odd player when it comes to that because of like it's like
You almost got to
wins-
split him in half. I don't know, but
have the unwritten rule like you just can't have both. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
How about Cy Young?
I guess I'll go. I said from the beginning, Zach Gallen. I have him at nice odds for Cy Young.
He's short. He's short now, right?
He's second.
short.
He's
Yeah,
second. I also have him at 100-1 to have the most wins, so he's only one back there. Got a big shot on that one. I think it's either going to be Gallen or Strider. If you wanted a longer shot, take a look at Logan Webb at 20-1. He's been pitching well lately, but I doubt it. I think it's going to be Gallen.
yeah, I had Webb. That was my longer odds Cy Young winner, but I think it's Strider's to lose. His stats are just disgusting right now. So unless he gets hurt, I don't know that anyone else is going to have a shot.
They're not better than
They're
Gallen.
pretty disgusting. Oh yeah, they are. Take a look at him.
Strikeouts is the only thing he's really
the
that
only
much
thing
better
that's
than
better
Gallen.
than
Yeah, they're
Batting
also
average against slow.
I mean, Chalky's love for Jay Wright might only be topped by Meeker's love for Major League batting average. Every single time we talk, it's all you hear is batting average.
Batting average against for a pitcher
Batting
is, not
average.
is a good stat if you're going to win the Cy Young. They have the lowest batting average against.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
Strider and Gallen are almost like tied basically for 1 and 2 in odds at the very least. They're pretty
Yeah,
close.
I think one of them wins. I don't think it's a slam dunk. It's not Strider's to lose at all. I think it's a toss up between those two.
Man, when I was just looking at the odds earlier today. Just the fact that Kershaw is still like in the top 4 is pretty amazing. It's just
He's
amazing.
pitching really good.
He's-
He's pitching well.
So I think
Good, Chalky.
I mean, Gallen's plus 230. I still think there's value there because I think there's a better, almost a 50-50 shot he ends up winning it. But if you want some longer shots to have a little fun to lose money on, two Cubs, Steele and Stroman, are at 50 and 60 to 1 each. And
I told you Stroman a couple weeks ago. That was
They
my,
pulled Steele out of the game the other day. Something's wrong with him. His forearm.
No, I missed that memo.
Jason was so nice to text me that during the game.
Yeah, I couldn't
Well,
wait
you're trying to put Logan Webb in Cy Young because you traded for him and gave another guy the league championship again.
Gave Freddie
one of the
Freeman,
worst deals in history. All of a sudden, he's in first. He's best team in the league since you traded for him.
Ladies,
has been a good trade for me.
Ladies, nobody cares about
the other one I was going to throw out there is I was actually going to try to get this guy at Rookie of the Year, and apparently he pitched just a few innings last year to qualify for Rookie of the Year. But Bryce Elder at 80 to 1, he's got a 1.9 ERA right now. I don't know if he'll get enough wins because he doesn't have run support, but he's like 40 points better than anybody else on the ERA right now. So if he throws it under 2 ERA, 80 to 1,
it's a nice play. I'd try it.
Anything else from you guys?
I have some Rookie of the Years.
Go for it. Go for it.
Juicy. So I'll start with the NL. A guy that I told Chalky to pick up, and we're not talking fantasy, but Ellie De La Cruz, who's not even called up yet, and his odds are now 16 to 1, believe it or not.
Yeah.
He's a monster. I mean, he's probably the best player not in the league right now. Yuri Perez is 25 to 1. I mean, if he pitches the way he could pitch, I mean, I think he could win it. And then a crazy guy is Casey Schmidt at 35 to 1. Guy's just a hitting machine. And for a category that I think is wide open, I mean, Carroll right now is the favorite, and Outman. But I mean, Carroll's good. I mean, his stats aren't great. Outman's stats aren't that great. I think it's wide open. Real quick, American League, Josh Jung at 850 plus 850. That's crazy value. I mean, right now the guy for Boston, Yoshida, is the best odds.
He's got good stats though. He does.
Yeah, his stats aren't that great. He's got like 6 or 7 home runs.
Yeah, rookie of the year is not.
It's a rookie though.
In June 1st, not a award you take plus 125 on.
No chance.
Yeah,
his stats are not that good to be the favorite. Look at Josh Jung.
To Jason's point, there's like guys not in the league right now have a shot to win Rookie of the Year.
Correct.
That makes it.
This is when Harris got called up last year.
And won the.
He's been
Rookie
actually.
of the Year.
He's been terrible this year too, right?
He's been bad.
Like real bad. Yeah.
He got hurt and he hasn't gotten on track.
So one guy we just saw the other day is still considered a rookie is Senga. So you can take him. He's 25 to 1. Pitched well. Obviously, he's on a decent team, so he could rack up some wins.
Do you guys know? Obviously not exact numbers, but like pitchers versus hitters for this award. Like, is it going more towards hitters?
Usually goes the hitter.
Hitters. That's what I would have thought too. Yeah, I don't know the numbers. I didn't know if anybody had them. Chalky probably.
I mean, Strider probably.
No, I don't
get on his
numbers,
Google machine real quick or something.
I'm not going to.
Pitchers win the award a lot. They win.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, Strider. Don't you think Strider should have won last year and they gave it to Harris? I mean, Strider.
Well, he should have won. I agree.
Well, right. That's
Harris had a pretty good.
point.
I mean, in 110 games, he had 25 home runs and hit 290. I mean, it wasn't like he was.
But you could see. I mean, I don't know. You could see that Strider's the guy that he's going to be good for a long time. Harris might have been one of those. Okay, had a great year in his rookie year, not that really great of a player, and kind of turning out that way.
I would assume that hitters get it probably at a better than 2-1 clip versus pitchers, if not even great. Well above that. But
yeah, I have to check. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah,
but go ahead, Meeker.
There's only one other guy I was going to say, Rookie of the Year in the American League. It's kind of a long shot, but he's having, and they don't usually give this award to relievers, but Yennier Cano, he's on the Orioles, and he's a big part of the fact that they hold the games. He's not actually their closer, but his ERA is south of 1. I think he's got like 10, 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. Because the AL also, there's no one really running away with this award. So, if the Orioles end up, making the playoffs, he might be a good shot to take it 20 to 1.
Yeah, a reliever that's not a closer is probably.
He probably should be the closer, but because he's a rookie,
he's lights out.
He's been really good. Their closer, but he has closer stuff. Let's put it that way. He could be if this guy wasn't pitching like he was. Let's put it that way.
All right, so since 2000, and I'm not going back farther than that, each league has had 6 pitchers win AL or win Rookie of the Year, so 12 total, and it's actually even 6-6 starters versus relievers.
Wow.
But the reliever's
they-
a closer.
Probably the closers.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
tangible stats.
relievers.
Well,
Neftali,
Devin
Perez,
Williams wasn't a closer
Andrew
for Milwaukee
Bailey.
when he won.
Williams won in 20. That was the strike year. That's the strike year. That was a COVID year, so that was a little squirrely. Kimbrel won as a closer, right, for Atlanta as a rookie, and then who was the other reliever? Sasaki on Seattle in 2000. I guess he was the closer. I don't remember that far.
Yeah,
back.
he
So
was.
you're almost 3-1 that hitters are getting it over pitchers.
Yeah.
In combined
Yeah.
leagues. So I mean the odds of a pitcher need to be juiced more, I would say.
Yeah.
To kind of make it a value play, just because to Jason's point, like you had the Harris and Strider, and they went to Harris when they could have went either way. So
They were both also on the same team, which made it probably a little bit weird in voting.
Probably, yeah. So, speaking of same team, I got 2 guys that are on the same team right now, and neither of them are De La Cruz, who could very well win it, but I don't know when he's coming up, so I'm not taking that bet. Spencer Steer, 30-1
Yep.
on Cincinnati, and Lieutenant John McClain,
Yeah.
Matt McClain at 25-1, who's tearing the cover off the ball coming up, and the guy who got Freeman for Meeker for Song and Dance was trying to get McClain from me, so
Song
it
and
means
Dance.
he must be pretty good. So
Freeman, who's hitting 500 since.
yeah,
Meeker
he's got a
came?
he's got a 62 game hitting streak, and he got traded for Logan Webb. I mean, I don't
Is it
reliever.
one-
Who has
Isn't Freeman, like,
given up
second?
one run for me, and a guy who's hitting 320 since I've gotten him.
isn't Freeman like second?
Don't
to
just
win
look at the
MVP?
guy that's. Just look at Freeman.
Well,
Look at the guys that I got.
you have no pitching or hitting, so it's all right. But anyway, and AL, I'll stick with my original pick. Volpe's 25-1. He's hitting 300 right now. He's in New York. We'll see.
Volpe's hitting 1 something.
Is he? Did I click on the wrong thing? I must have
Yeah,
clicked on
you
the wrong
clicked
thing.
on the wrong
I thought he
Volpe.
was still hitting
He was
one.
hitting
up.
like
Look at that
180.
Joey Volpe
300.
from South Philly
Yeah.
and his half ball average.
Oh yeah, this is a Delaware Valley League. I'm sorry.
That's from Sega Genesis. Is that? Is that?
I was like, I looked at it. I was like, I know he was still hitting 300.
No.
Yeah.
Is his
I
odds
guess-
still 25-1? Because
He's 25-1. That is correct. I can tell you
Listen,
that.
if he was
that
hitting
he
300
is-
for the Yankees, he would not be 25-1 for Rookie of the Year.
No.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's,
Oh, you know what? I think I looked at Rizzo. I think the Italians got me confused.
Yeah.
He's hitting 304 somehow, but
Yeah.
all right. Anything else before we wrap this one up?
Yes, I do have one other thing. Meeker,
Go for
I
it.
think I figured out what's wrong with Trey Turner.
What's that?
You bought his jersey, didn't you?
That's it. That's probably it.
And that's it.
Oh, I'll be remiss. I'll be remiss if I didn't get an NHL prediction. Anybody?
I like Florida. I think Florida's going to win, and they're
Yeah,
not
so-
the favorite.
Yeah, I think Vegas is going to take that.
Really? I like Florida a lot, actually.
I think Florida would have beat Dallas. I think Vegas is better team.
I'll roll.
than
I'll roll
that.
with Flyer. I'll roll with the hot goalie.
Yeah, they got the hot goalie. I like them a lot.
Volpe. Oh, I'm sorry.
You did have a stroke.
Yeah,
before we
Florida.
started this.
Florida. Let's go with Florida.
All right, I'm on an island here. That was episode 57, Broad Street Hustle. Follow us. Continue to watch us on YouTube. Follow us at Broad Street Hustle on Twitter. Remember, hit like, subscribe, all the above. Episode 57. Good night.
Adios.